Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. This is Rabbit Hole Roulette. I am your host, Matty P, alongside my co-host, Tony O. Tony, any current events you want to get into real quick before we get started?
Brother, I do. So, you've all heard of Route 66, correct, in the U.S.?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Route 666?
I do
What
not.
if I told you there was a Route 666 that takes you to hell? More specifically, a town in Poland, H-E-L, hell. There was a route specifically on this bus route that was going on, I guess, till about 2023. And then some religious group was like, oh, no, you can't do this. This is bad. It's too, I don't know, devilish, satanic. And so they changed the name to Route 669. And so for the last 3 years, it's been 669. And then a new company bought out this bus route, and they're like, we don't care about what you think. We're going to rename it to 666 for the cult appeal. And now they're like booming in ticket sales so people can go, I rode the highway to hell.
So it's great marketing.
Yeah.
Great
so highway
marketing.
to hell. Route 666 to hell. Poland.
It's fun.
Check it out.
Funny you say that because I remember in back when I was in school, high school specifically, in 2006. Not to age myself a little bit here, but I remember June 6th of 2006, a lot of the other high schoolers were talking about wanting to take a road trip to Hell, Michigan to celebrate 6606, 666, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I thought you were going, was the Hell, Michigan thing. I didn't know about the one in Poland.
Yeah. Hell, Poland. Just interesting. Also, ad lib to this fun fact, or an addendum to this, if you were looking for a prototype World War II submarine that technically could have turned the tides for the war for the Axis back in the day, there was a prototype submarine that was apparently sunk somewhere near that town or that area in the Baltic Sea.
Interesting. I do happen to be in the market for one right now, so
if you're looking to go dive.
I may have to go look at.
We're taking the show to the deep sea.
Yes. Get out the GoPros and we'll go do some scuba diving, see if we can find one. Current events for me, I actually have two. Have you heard about the zombie squirrels currently? That's popping up in a few different states.
Why do you got to ruin squirrels for me?
Apparently there are these squirrels they've gotten some sort of a infection or something, right? And they have these sores all over them that are blistering and oozing and all that, and it gives them the appearance of looking like zombies from like the Walking Dead or The Last of Us. So they've been nicknamed zombie squirrels. And I think currently they've been spotted in like 10 states or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wife saw that one yesterday, so shout out to the wife for dropping in the current events for the show. In other news, Caitlin Clark of the Indiana Fever missed the game last night. She was
punched
out with an injury. She did. Yeah, she was once again a victim of another dirty play. So she was out yesterday. They did, however, end up winning by 25, 27 points, something like that at the end of the game. So they did play pretty well without her. However, it does seem odd to me that the player that has brought the most attention to the league is
being done dirty
every year, being targeted by multiple dirty plays, missing good amounts of games in the season that are then impacting ticket sales, and yet nothing is being done about it. Alyssa Thomas was issued a 1-game suspension and a $1,000 fine, coming out of her $1.2 million a year annual salary. So not sure how much she really cares about that $1,000. But yeah, just interesting to see. It's gotten a lot of coverage on social media and the different news outlets. All the different ESPN analysts have been giving their 2 cents on it. So I am curious to see what happens going forward. Also, the Indiana Attorney General has issued a statement demanding a harsher punishment for Alyssa Thomas. Not sure what he can really do, since they are based out of Phoenix. and he is the Indiana Attorney General, so I'm not sure what he can possibly do with that.
He's going to call in some
But
favors.
I guess I don't know what the. I mean, I'd appreciate him, showing his allegiance, but I'm really concerned or confused as to what he can actually do.
So I'm going to go a little political here and say that they are allowing that to happen because it's still driving controversy and topics of discussion for fans or potential non-fans to talk about how violent or non-violent or whatever's happening in the league. Still drawing attention to it, right?
That is a good point. I had not really thought about that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, attention is attention, good or bad.
Attention is attention. You're right. And the more she keeps getting beat up, the more people keep talking about the WNBA.
Yep, it's going to be blowing up on your X or your Insta or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah, it's everywhere. I can't scroll through my Facebook feed without seeing something else about it.
Sometimes it happens.
Interesting. So we got Highway 666, zombie squirrels, and another assault on Caitlin Clark. Good current events.
Another
one. Hit him with that DJ Khaled. Another one.
Let's get into another show. What do you let's spin this wheel. Let's spin the win, bud.
You ready? Spin to win. We spin to win, we go again. Let's see. Let me share my screen with you, big guy, so you can see it. You see my wheel?
I do. The fun is going to be if it lands on you again.
Brother. All right. Let's see. 3, 2, 1, go. There it is. Finally. All right.
Yeah. All right. Finally, Tony O has come
going
to the show.
Tony O.
All right. Well, I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see my wheel. Is that a thing? Is that what you want me to do?
Yeah, go ahead and share it. Well, I'm curious to see what your clues are for your topics. Oh.
All right. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So it looks like the mountain that something. Personal ad going. 5 days missing. I'm going to rehab. Come on, Amy Winehouse. Shout out.
Oh, boy. So out of those 4, I'm going to pull a page out of your book. And I am going to say I don't want personals ad going.
Okay.
I'm very, very confused as to what that could be. All right. Let's see.
Here we go. Let's spin it up. What do we got here?
Ooh.
The mountain that kept us. Yeah.
Okay.
1 frozen campsite, 9 dead hikers, a mystery that still refuses to stay buried. Have you heard anything about this yet?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, let me stop sharing. Let me kind of bring up my notes page on this. So let's get into this. So I want you to picture this, okay? Mm-hmm. You're in the Soviet Union. The year is 1959.
Okay.
Okay, so unlike today, there's no GPS, there's no satellite phones, there's no emergency phones. You don't even have a flip phone, right? This is 1959. Sure. Okay. So what you do have is 10 experienced hikers in college heading to one of the harshest mountain ranges on Earth that should have been just another routine expedition for this group. They were a hiking club, basically.
Okay.
Only one of them would ever make it home. Do you know the story?
It does sound very familiar, but I don't know if I'm thinking of the same one that you're talking about.
All right, so let's go further, all right? So let's meet the group. Let's meet the participants, okay? So the expedition was led by a 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov. Okay. Does that doesn't sound familiar yet?
Not yet, but the name does sound very Soviet Union-y.
He's a good dude, Igor, right? So 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, an engineering student and highly experienced mountaineer, okay? His team consists of 9 of the young adults, mostly engineering students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute. And most importantly, they were not amateur, hikers or backpackers or rock climbers. They were mountaineers, I guess. They were very experienced, okay, for their young age.
Mm-hmm.
So to even attempt this route that they were fixing to go on, each person already had extensive winter survival experiences. They've completed, a trip that would earn them the Soviet Union's highest hiking certificate or certification. So their
Okay.
destination, a remote mountain in Russia's northern Ural Mountains. Okay, so one member, Yuri Yudin, developed severe leg pain like just a couple of days into the expedition, and he had to turn back, some medical reasons. So that decision saved his life. Again,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I am thinking of the same story. Okay, keep going.
now we're getting somewhere. All right. So
Yeah,
the
yeah, yep.
remaining 9, they continued into the mountains. So this was the last time that anybody would ever see them alive. So specifically, this Yuri Yudin was the last one.
Mhm.
And again, this will all be fact checked through Wikipedia or any various news outlets. So the issue became because they never checked in. So the hikers, they're expected to return like in mid-February, but when they didn't, people were immediately worried. And there were, all kinds of expeditions that ran behind schedule, thinking that these expeditions ran behind schedule because it happens sometimes.
Sure.
But after several days of silence and still no sign of these guys coming in, search teams were dispatched. But what they discovered become one of history's most famous mysteries. Okay, so that's the picture. So let's get into what they found. Okay, so the discovery teams, the search teams, found on February 26th. They located a campsite. Immediately, something looked wrong. The tent was still standing. Inside the tent, they found like boots, heavy winter coats, food, their cameras, some journals, some money, some supplies, right? Everything they'd need to survive.
Sure.
They weren't robbed because, again, they had all their stuff, so nobody just showed up out of nowhere. It's not like it's, you panhandle of Florida where you're going to just get robbed and, camping outside.
Random Florida man.
Yeah, it could be. You never know, right?
Yeah.
So, but everything they desperately want to have, they were just leaving. There was no sign of people. The hikers, they were all gone. Even stranger, the tent had been cut open from the inside with a knife.
From the inside.
From the inside. So they were trying to hurriedly get out of this tent. They couldn't get the zipper. It was froze. I mean, I don't know exactly, but somebody used a knife to cut the inside of this tent to create a hole so they could run or quickly, I assume, leave this tent with all of their belongings behind. So again, no normal entrance. They just slashed from inside.
But there was no evidence of anything else being inside the tent, like a wild animal, insect, snake, something.
Not that was reported.
I mean, probably not. This is what, the tundra at this point, right? I mean,
yeah, you're in the mountains. I mean,
pretty
you're gonna have
cold,
some
yeah.
things. Wolves, maybe. I'll get to wolves in a minute.
But they would have destroyed the tent, I would have assumed.
Correct. So all that food would have been gone, right?
Yeah.
So most importantly, they left so quickly that they didn't even stop to put their shoes on. And if you're a hiker, that's one of your most important pieces of gear, right? You just good footwear.
Yeah.
That's just gonna suck.
Yeah.
So outside the tent, they found footprints. Not running footprints, that because the gait or the stride was not long. They were walking footprints. Some of the footprints obviously were barefoot. Some were wearing only socks. There were some footprints that only had a single boot. And the tracks stretched nearly a mile down the mountain toward a forest. So imagine choosing to walk into negative 22, negative 20 degree Fahrenheit temperatures in your underwear, snow, blizzard, whatever, in the mountains, high altitude, towards the forest, with nothing on. Again, just your underwear. Maybe a shoe.
No, that does not sound like a good time.
So, wow, these guys chose to do this.
So, I'm going to argue on the footprints not being long enough to signify a running footprints, because if you look at my running footprints, they're going to look a lot like walking footprints. They're not going to be much different.
Again, that's just what.
But no, I get what you're saying, though.
And even you look at heights of individuals. Obviously, my running footprints are going to be like the gait of a normal, I'm 6 foot tall, male who happens to be walking potentially, right?
Sure.
You could potentially talk about the depth of the footprint in the snow because of your force coming down while you're running is going to be greater than that as if you're walking.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they use to figure all this out. I don't know any of that. But again, underwear, walking towards the forest, just kind of on their own, left quickly
Well,
out of the tent, but
what would
nothing
make
appeared.
you run from your tent?
That there is the question. So let's talk about the bodies. Okay. So the first bodies. So beneath a giant cedar tree, searchers found 2 hikers, both only in their underwear, and both had died from hypothermia. So they tried to huddle under a tree or near a tree. So nearby, there were remains of a campfire. So the branches were broken in the cedar tree, approximately up to 15 feet high. It looks like, like somebody maybe tried to climb the tree, maybe trying to get a better vantage to maybe see the tent, to see where they were, but whatever had driven them away from the tent. They were trying to look, essentially, right? So you could see they tried to climb the tree.
Sure.
Okay. So between the cedar tree and the campsite now, in between that area, investigators found 3 more bodies, including Igor Dyatlov himself, right? So the leader of this expedition. Their positions, a little bit more of a heartbreaking story. They appeared to be crawling back towards the tent, one after another, almost in like the human centipede style.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So one after another, and they just simply collapsed in the snow, and they never made it to the tent. But why did they leave in the beginning?
Why? Yeah. And why?
We don't know.
It's the second question. And I know that camping, a tent can get pretty warm at night. But if you're in, would you say -20, whatever temperatures, I'm probably not stripping down to my underwear even to sleep.
So
I feel like it's going to be cold.
I camp, so I backpack camp a lot, or I used to, a couple years ago. Your entire gear, and even getting out at 50-degree weather and having to go tinkle or whatever at
Sure.
dark, dusk, whatever it is at dawn. It's not good. I mean, you can see your breath, you're shivering, you're cold. I don't want to be doing that. I got to start to put my shoes on, or maybe even put a shirt on just to keep my core temperature from going down. And if you're looking at body temperature that goes to 96, what is it, 96.6, you're going to potentially get, or 96, I think it's 96.6, 96, maybe it's 96. You'll get medical induced hypothermia.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the temperature. And here you are at -20 degrees Fahrenheit out there with nothing on, up in an elevation that's so high. But why? Why do you not have anything on?
What made them run? And not just run, but cut themselves out of their tent. Which makes me wonder if something was at the entrance of their tent, whether it be an animal or maybe one of the hikers lost their mind, decided they were going to kill everybody in the middle of nowhere and, try to get away with it. I mean, who knows, right? But something had to be at the entrance of the tent for them to want to cut themselves out. And whatever it was had to be scary enough that they didn't even take the time to get dressed. And as experienced hikers, they would know that going out in those elements without, proper attire could cause, pretty quick death, right? And
Yep.
fairly painful, right? Because you're going to be cold for a while before your body shuts down.
Correct.
So
that's just 5 of these
wild.
Individuals. The last 4, much stranger. You ready for this?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so months later, so for the longest time, they never found the remaining 4 individuals. So months went by. Months later, the snow melted. Their searchers still kind of in the area. They discovered the last 4 hikers that were buried beneath over 12 feet of snow in a ravine. Unlike the other hikers, these individuals had severe injuries.
Oh.
So one had a crushed skull, 2 had massive chest fractures, comparable to injuries from like a high-speed car crash, but yet there was no external wounds, no cuts, no bruising, evidence they had been beaten and, just whatever, right? Just massive, devastating internal damage.
Ow.
But why was theirs? So there's other things that kind of suggest, some theories here, and we'll get into that in just a minute. So the headlines focused on one thing. So one woman, one of the, here's the even stranger one. This was actually blew my mind. So one of the 4 that were found months later, she was missing her tongue. Tongue just gone. Others of the 4 were missing their eyes. Some lacked like portions of their facial tissue.
Sounds a little bit like cult activity to me.
Well, I said that there's no good news in this, but when you look at today's forensics, a lot of people, scientists, believe that those injuries occurred after death. And that's where these wolves come from. They're caused by scavenging animals, natural decomposition while they lay there for months beneath the snow, running water, not by whatever killed them. However, again, that the crushed skull, the chest injuries, that doesn't account for like a wolf coming in and mauling somebody or eating to survive for the scavengers.
Sure.
So the evidence, the strange stuff didn't stop with what we just talked about there. That was all very strange.
Mm-hmm.
So they found that their clothing had traces of radiation. Radiation. Think about that for a second. So you generally will hear
forest?
Yep. You will generally hear, oh, I've got abducted by aliens. I'm going to check for radiation. And that's generally a thing. And these guys had radiation on their clothing they found. Some witnesses from the area reported a mysterious glowing light in the sky, approximately about the same time that they were in the forest or the woods or this area. But the official Soviet report didn't identify a cause.
Official Soviet report.
And the investigators concluded that hikers died because of, quote, a compelling natural force. That's it. Case closed. No explanation. Classified records.
Natural force.
Compelling natural force. And again, records were classified for decades. So that secrecy fueled, countless conspiracy theories. And I love a good conspiracy theory.
Why would they need to be classified if it was just a natural force?
That's a very good question. So what are some theories that you think might be it? What are we thinking?
So originally, before you mentioned the radiation, I was thinking Yeti, potentially.
Okay. Russian Yeti or whatever it is over there.
Yeah. But now that there was radiation involved, I have 2 theories running through my head. One is, did one of the hikers have a piece of equipment on him that, because you said this was back in 59?
Yep.
Okay. So did he have a piece of equipment on him that could have had radiation on it, whatever, emitting radiation that would have potentially messed with his mind and made him, or made all of them, start to hallucinate or go crazy? Because I know, back in the day like that, you had things like thermometers with mercury in it or whatever. People get mercury poisoning, lead paint and all that kind of stuff. Yep. So I know, that's a possibility, right? If they had something that emitted some sort of radiation on it. My second theory is that they accidentally stumbled into a Soviet testing base kind of deal, or a test that the Soviets were running went farther than they had anticipated in their calculations, potentially due to the weather, the wind, whatever, and blasted them with radiation and made them all go crazy. That's my 2 theories.
And that ties into at least one of the theories that there's out there. So the main theory, the one that's widely believed, that has the most credible scientific explanation, I guess, is avalanche. So the idea that the hikers cut into a snowpack while kind of putting their tent up, and then hours later, a small slab of that avalanche, or what you consider basically a collapsing snow slab, it shifted onto the tent. Not completely burying them, but enough to convince them in the tent that, hey, there's potential another collapse is going to happen soon. We need to get out of here right now. First thing I do, I've got a pocket knife or whatever it is. I use my knife, out you go, and I camp the exact same way. I've got a blade laying right next to me for a quick egress. So they escaped immediately through the side of the tent in darkness, in a blizzard, without any clothing. Once they're in the forest, then there's hypothermia. There's confusion. There's that desperate survival decisions that are, basically finished up the tragedy. And then specifically in 2021, They found that this type of delayed slab avalanche, that little piece of avalanche small, could account for both panic and the severe chest injuries. So with that, Russia reopened this investigation and concluded the snow slab was most likely the cause.
But that doesn't explain the radiation.
Kind of weird to classify it and not account for the other facts that are there, right? Radiation. So here's one, and you hit on this one. So the radiation. And this one's the one that theory that refuses to die because the radiation's never explained. So this theory says secret military testing. So people point out to radiation. They report to the glowing lights. You're in the height of the Cold War secrecy. All the files are classified. So as you said, there are some people that believe they accidentally wandered into a secret weapons test. But there's no direct evidence that has ever confirmed this theory.
Right, and with it being the Soviet Union, there never will be. I mean,
correct.
They're never going to. And that would explain why they were so eager to also reopen the investigation and be like, "Oh, scientists, you're right, you nailed it. It's the avalanche slab. It definitely that's what did it. Case closed again."
So I've got probably, I think, two more theories or a couple more theories. So another one, a little bit more stranger in terms of scientific theory. But have you ever been in an area and the wind, it's a compressed area, like almost like a tunnel effect with the wind, and it tends to howl and get louder?
Sure.
So this is one specifically that says that certain wind conditions around the mountain can supposedly create an ultra low frequency sound wave, an infrasound that humans can't hear. But researchers think the prolonged exposure to this sound could create overwhelming panic and dread, kind of like the brown noise, like shitting yourself.
Sure.
Very similar, right? So this theory suggests the hikers basically fled irrationally, and they died just trying to survive the cold. But again, evidence to this is very, very limited. Again, also doesn't account for the radiation.
Yeah, I'm hung up on the radiation. I can't let that go. That's a weird thing to find on hikers in the forest. And then when you add in the the Soviet Union, classifying the documents and then running back out and second time around, oh yeah, this is what happened. Definitely, everybody forget about it now and move on. Yeah, I can't. But even still, the radiation does not explain being virtually naked down to their underwear or cutting themselves out of the tent or the trauma. So could it be, if you combine those two things, the common factor would be the test of the weapon or whatever, the whatever test the government was doing with radiation, hitting these hikers with radiation at the same time causing that avalanche.
Could it be a combination?
Because radiation will make people feel hot, right? It burns you. So if that radiation was going, but it was small enough that it didn't make them panic right away, it just made them feel like they were getting hot in their tent, they would all then be stripping down. And that heat then could also have melted the snow enough to cause the avalanche.
So you hit a good point. So even when I camp, even in like a 50-degree Fahrenheit weather, I will generally not just be in my underwear. Generally, I've got my socks on and I've got my sleeping bag. I've got a sleeping bag liner in there because I want to maintain warmth. So maybe you're right. Maybe they felt too hot, so they stripped down in this tent, or they were so experienced they had it hot enough in there. I don't know.
Maybe, but being experienced though, when you're out camping in the woods, you should always be prepared, right? Like you said, you sleep with a kniff beside you in case you need to cut yourself out of your tent, right? So, or whatever may happen. So you should always be prepared for either wild animals or inclement weather or potential crazy wrong turn, hills have eyes kind of scenario, right? Like you should always be prepared for like those three things.
And all reports suggest that all 10 of these hikers, even including the one that went turned back, were all experienced enough to potentially have the same mindset. I would imagine they would.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying the just the avalanche causing this whole thing.
So here's my last theory, and this is where it gets kind of wild. So I think you'll like this one because I know how you think. A lot of the favorites out there: aliens. You mentioned a Yeti. Government assassins for whatever reason. There's a theory out there talking about escaped prisoners because there was a gulag nearby, a Russian gulag, but no reports of escaped prisoners happened at that time. Ball lightning, whatever that is, and then paranormal entities.
Okay, I'm digging the last one. So I'm going to argue against the gulag one because you said all their stuff was still at the camp.
Correct.
If I am an escaped prisoner out of a gulag, I'm taking everything I can get my hands on to try to get it as far away as possible. Taking all the equipment, I'm taking the tents, I'm taking the money, I'm taking everything I can carry. So I'm not sold on that one. Aliens, always possible. Paranormal entities. I mean, potentially. I mean, you know, there's the was it the monks that live in the mountains that have their own little superstitions of different spirits and all that kind of stuff, like vengeful spirits and stuff like that in the mountains. So I mean, that's also possible. I'm not hating that theory.
So all these theories, go ahead.
But that doesn't explain the radiation.
Correct. And so what truly bothers people that still talk about this all these years later, 60 years later, is these weren't inexperienced tourists. They were elite winter hikers. They knew these
aren't amateurs. Yeah.
Correct. They knew what it took to survive in the cold. They knew that leaving the shelter in the sub-zero temperature without clothes, without boots, would be almost certainly fatal. Yeah. So what convinced all 9 they're staying in that tent was worse than all of what I just said about the sub-zero, the cold, the mountains? What was worse? And that's what's fascinated people through all these years.
And that's why I keep leaning towards potential radiation poisoning causing hallucinations. I mean, that's a thing, right? Radiation poisoning can cause people to hallucinate.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody in the crew brought something to try to make the hike a little more fun, like some magic mushroom tea kind of deal, you know, straight out of Super Mario. Brought the mushrooms for everybody. I can't let go in my head of the theory of it being a government test gone wrong that they then either went to clean up the evidence on, knowing that these guys would most likely survive because of their experience, or the radiation just messed with them enough. Because the fact that they split up too is another thing that surprises me with these guys not being amateurs. They would, to me, they would never split up. If they don't have any kind of communication to keep, like shortwave radio to keep in touch with each other, to me, they're not going to separate, right? They're going to stick together, keep everybody together, especially if they're all virtually naked. They're going to want to huddle together as many people as possible for the body warmth.
So there's theory. There's theories out there where there were the first 5 that went out. Maybe all 9 go together, right? And then 4 of them decide to then basically cut into the ravine down below a little bit because they're coming down the mountain, right? So they cut into this ravine, and the 4 at the end that have the traumatic medical issues, they decide they're going to basically batten down right there. The other 5 say, hey, we're going to try to see how far the forest line is because it could have been a kilometer away, a mile away, or whatever it is. So the other 5 decide to go out to go find this, to report back. Maybe they were more experienced, maybe they're better, I don't know. 3 of them, or 2 of them, make it further. The other 3 say, hey, we're going to go back to report you found the tree line. Remember, 2 were by the tree. And if it is an avalanche, I'm going to use my terrain to try to get behind. In this instance, a giant cedar tree. I'm going to hide behind that son of a gun, right? Or I'm going to climb up on it and see how far away we've made it from the tent or whatever. So they say, hey, we're going to wait here. We're at the tree line. I need you guys to go back and grab the other 4. The other 3 now are going back into this winds, into the potential avalanche coming down. They don't make it to the other 4. The other 4 are left huddled together, waiting, thinking they're going to be told, hey, we're set up, 20 feet away or 40 feet away. Because you can't see. You can't see your hand in front of your face. This is blizzard whiteout conditions. And they never made it. So they died right there wondering where the other dudes were at.
But I don't know, especially blizzard whiteout conditions. I don't think splitting up would ever be the option. I'm still confused what made them strip down to their underwear, which is why I'm still hooked on the radiation causing it to be hot, right? Hotter than it normally would be. Because they would have prepared to be dressed as warm as possible for this kind of weather, being experienced hikers, mountain climbers, whatever. They would have come prepared and dressed warmly. So if the radiation caused it to get hotter to the point that they're now feeling overdressed for the situation, potentially, but all of them?
All of
How
them.
many was there total? 9?
9.
Originally 10, but one turned back because of a leg injury?
Yep. Lucky that guy.
Yeah. And when he turned back, he was probably super disappointed that he was going to miss the hike.
Until months later, he's like,
I
feel good now, boys.
Yeah.
So here's another interesting fun fact. The mountain where they were camped, this area where they were camped at, the name from a local Mansi language is commonly translated into Dead Mountain.
Dead Mountain.
They say specifically not because of the spooky storytelling and the story that happened. It likely refers to the mountain's barren landscape.
Sure.
But who knows?
Why is it always got to be something like a dead mountain or a devil's backbone or a
Route
Satan's
666.
scrotum? Why is it never something?
Did you say Satan's scrotum?
Fun? I might have.
Sounds hot.
Why is it? It's very, very moist, some swampy area. You don't want to go. It's down in Florida. Not a good
Panhandle.
time.
You'll get robbed.
Yeah, you don't want to go there.
All right. So my question for you at this point is, would you trust the Soviet government's original investigation to classify it and call it, compelling natural forces? And they still lean towards that when they said, oh, it was the avalanche. That's still a compelling natural force, right? Do you trust that?
I have never trusted anything the Soviets have said ever, and I am not going to start now.
We were on track to get Putin on the show. Probably not now because of you.
He wasn't part of the Soviet Union, though. He took over when it became just Russia.
Oh, that's fair. Good call.
Yeah.
I don't know my history there. That's correct.
I'm not 100% sure. I just said it with confidence so people would believe
I trusted
it.
you. I believed you. I believed you.
I'm not 100% sure. He may have been involved a little bit during the Soviet days, but I don't know. I can't. No, couldn't have been. Not with his age.
Either way, I also wouldn't have trusted it. Again, I believe there's more to it because it doesn't account for all the facts. Again, that radiation is a kicker for me. So the last question for you, or one of my last questions, is if you woke up in negative sub-zero temperatures, whatever could possibly make you flee your tent barefoot in the middle of the night? That's the question.
I mean, it would have to be. The thing for me is if I'm hearing like a wild animal outside of my tent, my thought is stay in the tent. At least it can't see you. It may smell you, but at least there's something between you.
So you're a snack pack. Got it.
Yeah, 100%. I'm a hot pocket at that situation.
Yeah.
But that would be my first thought is stay quiet, stay in the tent. Maybe it'll go away. If not, I mean, if I jump out, if it's a wolf or a grizzly, I don't know that I'm going to win that fight. So I may as well just stay in the tent and hope I get lucky in the hide and seek championship. But now you start it would have to be something that would be making me hallucinate and make me not in my right mind, which is why I'm still holding on to the radiation part of this. That's the part that is just sticking in my brain. Something would have to be wrong with my head to make me think, hey, I got my Hanes on. Let's go for a jog real quick out in the blizzard where I can't see. You don't know what's going on. But that's what's crazy is that it got every single one of them to do it.
Yeah.
All 9. And were they all in the same tent?
Yeah.
Or was there multiple tents?
One tent.
One tent. Okay.
From what I understand, it's one tent. I'd have to read the reports. I've not gone that far yet, but one tent, I believe, because they found the one tent. That's what's talked about.
So then you could say in my brain that isolated them all, hit my mic, into one tent.
Hallucinating.
Which means if they all were in that same spot and that happened to be where so back to my original theory of one of the hikers having something on him that had radiation in it.
Then where do you take this radioactive when you go hiking?
Radio? It's in the name.
Stupid.
Someone left the radio on, so it was active. Therefore, it was radioactive.
Microwave back in the day.
I don't know. I mean, surely there's something that would have been around back then. I mean, there's been all kinds of shit back in the day that people have discovered that had radiation in it, right?
Yeah. I don't know what their gear list looked like. I don't know.
Piece of boron on them or something, and radiation.
Mary Carey. So anyway, so with this, the main thing is this some ultimate tragic survival story that became sensationalized, or do you think there's an important piece of the puzzle that we still don't know?
I think, and I hate to say this because things are kind of calm right now between us and Russia, but I feel like there is more foul play here with the government side of things from the USSR days. That's my thought.
That's my dogs. They liked your theory. They just went off. Whatever you were saying, they went off.
They're sleeper cells for the Soviet Union.
I'm now nervous.
Yeah. They've been alerted. They've been activated. Jeez.
If I don't make it for episode 4, you know what happened to me? My dogs ate me.
Yep.
So that's pretty much the story I've got for you today. So basically the story of the DyatlovPass incident.
That is a great story. So I have heard bits and pieces of this story, but usually it's just the summary of the 10 hikers go out, the one turns back and it ends up saving his life because the other 9 perished in the hike. But I've never heard the full details that you provided here in this story with the radiation and the USSR and the all of them were, in their underwear. They split up and 4 of them had crush injuries or whatever, and the other 3 were huddled by a makeshift campfire. A couple of them tried to get back to the town. I mean, there's so many things there. And of course, you also, jumping out of the conspiracy brain for a minute, you have to imagine too that panic is going to set in at some point. It's human nature. No matter how experienced you are, there's always the chance that panic takes over.
Mm-hmm.
So that could have been the explanation for them splitting up. Could have been the explanation for cutting themselves out of the tent if they thought it was no longer safe in the tent. I mean, I like the other version that you and I have discussed more so, our theories, but
the multiple theory connected.
Yes, but you have to also
or the radio.
Radioactive. 2 words, 4 syllables.
Not just the radio. Got it. All right, making sure. Then yes, I agree with you. I like the makeshift theory of multiple things together.
Yeah. Yeah, but still the radiation part is what's throwing me.
And it has everybody else for the last 60 years.
Yeah. Wasn't there a glow-in-the-dark paint back in the day that was radioactive? Had trace amounts of radiation in it? Maybe that's what it was. Maybe they decided to have a rave, stripped down to their underwear, painted themselves up with glow-in-the-dark paint. It turned out to be full of radiation, caused them to hallucinate, and they all took off running to the woods.
They could have been wild partiers. I do not know. I've seen a photo of them prior to through their expedition. There's been several photos where because they said there was a camera that was found. Some of their photos were like them having a good time and it's like singing songs and prior to them leaving their tent before the incident, because it's documented in the journals. Then they all went to bed and there's no more journal entries. So it was all very kumbaya until that point. So it could have been ravish. It could have just been a kumbaya moment. I don't know. But something happened after they went to bed.
Was a Grateful Dead album found at the scene?
I think we're a couple years too early for this.
That is a fair point.
I don't know when Cherry Garcia came about for his music. I'm not a Dead fan. So I don't know. Rabbits.
Oh, you're gonna get so much hate in the comment section.
And
for
if
that.
so, Rabbits, let me know what you think about these theories. Tell us what you think, even if you're a
Comment your
Grateful Dead
favorite
fan.
Grateful Dead song.
There's so many. Touch of Grey is my favorite. Touch of Grey. It's the only one I can remember growing up. It was animatronic skeletons playing guitars and instruments.
Yeah. I'm also not a big fan, but I also knew better than to be the first one to say it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Oh, that's
like
funny.
me or hate me, either one. But Matty P, that's kind of my story. That's what I got for you as far as my spin today. Again, the DyatlovPass incident. A lot of theories, nothing concrete yet. The official report, again, this avalanche, the snowstorm blizzard. But for years it was classified, doesn't explain radiation. We may never know.
Oh, that's a great story. That was a good one for your first lead episode.
Time.
Yeah, I'm glad I could be here for your first time.
My first time's longer than 56 seconds, so I'm pretty good.
That's pretty impressive.
I do what I can.
All right, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap this episode here. And we hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to hit the like, the subscribe, drop a comment down below with your theories. Let us know your opinions on this story, and if you think you have a different theory than what we came up with. Also, wanted to announce, if you made it this far, that we are interested in having you guys comment your own potential topics for a potential subscriber topic wheel at the end of the season, and we will spin that, and then we will both be going in blind, which I think could be a lot of fun. But if you guys want to drop your comments down on that one, and I think that's going to do it for today. So we will see you guys in the next episode.
See you, Rabbits.
Signing off.